Story 1. The Campground Watcher. This happened 10 years ago when I was 18 and desperate for cash. I landed a gig as the overnight security guard at Cedar Lake Campground, a 200-site park 5 miles from the nearest town. Free cabin and $50 a night sounded great until I realized how still and empty summer nights could feel out there. Most evenings, I'd make slow laps in the patrol truck, radio on, flashlight off, just listening to cicadas and distant coyotes. The campground store sold bad coffee and stale granola bars, but at least the lake breeze kept the cabin tolerable. One night around midnight, I was walking the loop near sites 47 to 52 when the radio crackled with static and a faint voice. "Help me." I froze. The campground was dead. No guests had been booked in that sector for weeks. I flicked on my torch and shone it down the dirt road. Nothing, just tall pines swaying. I swept the beam across the picnic tables and saw a small backpack on the ground next to Site 49's fire ring. My heart thumped. Kids under 18 weren't allowed after dark. I called dispatch. "Unit 2 here. I might have a trespasser." No answer, only static. I slipped my hand to the pepper spray at my belt and edged closer. The flashlight illuminated the campsite, a circle of glowing embers, empty chairs, and no kid. I radioed again, louder this time. Still nothing. The hair on my neck stood up. Then I heard it clearly, a low scratching, like fingernails dragging across wood. It was coming from the unlocked restroom block, half a football field away. Every rational bone in my body screamed, "Trap," but duty went out. I jogged over, pistol drawn. At the restroom door, the scratching stopped. My own breathing echoed. I shone the light under the metal door and saw footprints, small, muddy prints leading inside. I yanked the door open, spotlight blinding me. The stalls were empty, mirrors cracked. Nothing moved. Behind me, the crawl space vent at floor level rattled once. I kicked it shut and radioed again. Still dead air. I bolted back to the truck, doors locked, and drove off the property at 45 before I even turned on the engine. I filed that night off as a false alarm until a month later when another guard found that same backpack on the other side of the lake in the unstaffed boat launch lot. No fingerprints, no ID, just muddy footprints disappearing into the woods. I left the job the next week. I never learned who or what had been watching me. Story 2. The Cabin in Blackwood Ridge. This happened 2 summers ago. I'm 26 now, living in the city, but my childhood friend Mia still rents a remote cabin at Blackwood Ridge every July. She invited me up for a weekend unplugged, which sounded harmless until the second night. The woods around the cabin were silent by 10 no birds, no breeze. We stayed up late playing cards by lantern light, sipping wine. Around 1, Mia tossed her hand down. "Did you hear that?" she whispered. I cocked my head. At first, nothing. Then, a soft humming, low and mournful, coming from outside the cabin's single front window. "Probably a wounded animal," I said, though my voice shook. We grabbed our flashlights and stepped onto the porch. The beam landed on the wood no animals, but 6 dozen little wooden dolls impaled on the fence posts, their faces crudely carved. I swallowed. Mia swore she had never seen them. We flicked off the lantern and dashed inside, bolting the door. I told myself someone was playing a prank. Yet 15 minutes later, the humming returned, louder, accompanied by slow, deliberate thumps against the roof. We huddled on the couch until dawn, flashlight beams crisscrossing the ceiling shadows. No one knocked, but the entire porch slowly creaked under weight, step after step, circling the cabin. At first light, I raced outside. The dolls were gone. In their place, carved into the bark of the big pine at the cabin's edge, were the words, "Next time, I won't wait." Fresh sap oozed around each letter. I left before breakfast. Mia didn't talk about it much, just deleted her weekend photos and told me to forget. I haven't been back, and I never will. Story 3. The Ghost Hitchhiker. I was 20 on a road trip home from a summer music festival, driving the 2-lane highway through the foothills at 2 a.m. The air was still, and the moon was full, perfect for a solitary drive. Halfway down the stretch, I saw her, a girl in a white sundress, thumb out, standing under a lone street lamp. I pulled over. She slipped into the passenger seat without a word, wheels creaking. As we drove, crickets thrummed outside. I glanced over. Her eyes were fixed on the window, expression distant. The hum of the stereo mixed with her soft humming, the same tune she mouthed. I asked where she was headed. She pointed past an old stone bridge, said, "Just past there." When we passed the bridge, the road split 2 ways, one to the town, one dead ending at an overgrown dirt track. She lifted her hand. I turned onto the track. 40 seconds later, the headlights caught an old rusted sign, Eastwood Graveyard. My heart sank. I slammed on the brakes. The truck fishtailed on loose gravel. I looked at her. Her eyes glowed silver in the dashlight. The humming stopped. She said, "I told you I'd come home." The back window of the cemetery chapel stood open. I heard laughter low, echoing. I grabbed the door handle to push her out. It swung open, and she slipped away into the night. I spun around, but she'd vanished. No footprints in the gravel, nothing but my own tire tracks. I backed out and floored it to the next town, checking the rear view every second. Nothing followed. Weeks later, I learned from a local blog that a young woman in a white dress had died on that bridge 12 years earlier, trying to hitch a ride home from a concert. No one ever gave her a lift. Locals still see her wandering the roadside, looking for a driver brave enough to bring her back. I haven't driven that highway alone at night since.